meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace,
Law of One,
where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a Big Bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The Big Bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe with Dan, radio style. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Of course, we are looking at the Law of One. We're doing sessions 61 and 62 today. Got some great friends that are in the audience. Thank you guys all for joining us live. For those of you that didn't get to join us live, you should check out the chat. We've got a thing where we're going to let you hop into the StreamYard at the end. So when the outro is happening, I'll share the StreamYard in the comments section. The live chat section. Let's be very specific. The live chat section. I will share the link, and you guys can join, and please do. Last time there was just a few of us. I think we've got room for 14, 15. If some people have to flow in and out, we'll do that. We'll see how it works, but check it out, please, at the end. For those of you that are here all along. Session 61 talks about something that's been very prevalent this week for me. I don't know if it's something specific about this particular episode or if it's just digging deeper and deeper into the Law of One and trying to share it with people, that the concept of psychic attack is happening for me. I've had an interesting couple days. I talked about it on my regular show. I don't want to get off on the weeds too much, but needless to say, I'm dealing with it. You know, me, myself, and I guess was the we part, but all said, we are working through this. But psychic attack is something that you can and will deal with when you start to get closer and closer to the truth. It's flack or other things, right? Like it's what we're going through. It's the joy, if you will. Also, we're talking about the magic path, which is an interesting concept. There is an adept path they speak of. And I think it's something that many of us can and will find. And magic's not quite what they say. Magic is an interesting thing. And magic is where you essentially create things sort of out of nothing. I don't mean like poof, and they're suddenly in front of you, though manifestations of instant time frames have happened. Questionable, always, but that's why the law of confusion comes into play. When you do it yourself, though, you'll trip. You'll know. You'll try to talk to other people about it, and they'll be like, yeah, but that's because of such and such. And you'll realize, law of confusion. It sucks, but it is what it is. So we've got that going on. We've got session 61, and we're going to bring that up. I hope you guys are doing well. And I've got some questions. I got one question off the bat. I guess we'll grab that real quick. Patriot Daryl asked, does Ra not intervene in Carla's health situation because of her free will and service to others? Could he help if she asked? life is, we come for the catalyst. We come for the experience. Sometimes the problem Carla's having is exactly what she's here to do. So how do you heal that? And that's one of the problems with where we're at in the big picture. There are things a lot of us want to try to avoid, but ultimately that might very well be the path that you're destined to walk down. Sometimes owning who and what we are is really the hardest part of the path, I think. But it's a great question, Patriot Daryl. I love it. All said, we are going to kick off this next one here. Session 61. It's the Law of One. Recorded July 8th, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you give me an indication of the instrument's condition? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument's vital energies are improving. The physical complex distortions are quite marked at this point space-time, and there is a decrease in physical complex energies. Questioner. Is there anything in particular that the instrument could do to improve the physical condition? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument has two factors affecting its bodily distortions. This is in common with all of those which, by seniority of vibration, have reached the green ray level of vibratory conscious complexes. The first is the given instreamings which vary from cycle to cycle in predictable manner. In this particular entity, the cyclical complexes at this space-time nexus are not favorable for the physical energy levels. The second ramification of conditions is that which we might call the degree of mental efficiency and use of catalysts provided for the learning of programmed lessons in particular, and the lessons of love in general. This instrument, unlike some entities, has some further distortion due to the use of pre-incarnative conditions. Questioner. Can you expand on what you meant by the cycling instreamings of energy? Ra. I am Ra. There are 4 types of cycles, which are those given in the moment of entry into incarnation. There are, in addition, more cosmic and less regularized inpourings, which, from time to time, affect a sensitized mind-body-spirit complex. The 4 rhythms are, to some extent, known among your peoples, and are called biorhythms. There is a 4th cycle, which we may call the cycle of gateway of magic, of the adept, or of the spirit. This is a cycle which is completed in approximately 18 of your diurnal cycles. The cosmic patterns are also a function of the moment of incarnation entrance, and have to do with your satellite you call the moon, your planets of this galaxy, the galactic sun, and in some cases, the instreamings from the major galactic points of energy flow. Questioner. Would it be helpful to plot the cycles for the instrument and attempt to have these sessions at the most favorable points with respect to the cycle? Ra. I am Ra. To that specific query, we have no response. It may be noted that 3 in this triad bring in this energy pattern, which is Ra. Thus, each energy input of the triad is of note. We may say that while these information systems are interesting, they are in sway only insofar as the entity or entities involved have not made totally efficient use of catalyst, and therefore, instead of accepting the, shall we say, negative or retrograde moments or periods without undue notice, have the distortion towards the retaining of these distortions in order to work out the unused catalyst. It is to be noted that psychic attack continues upon this entity, although it is only effective at this time in physical distortions towards discomfort. We may suggest that it is always of some interest to observe the roadmap, both of the cycles and of the planetary and other cosmic influences, in that one may see certain wider roads or possibilities. However, we remind that this group is a unit. Questioner. Is there some way that we could, as a unit then, do something to reduce the effect of this psychic attack on the instrument and optimize the communicative opportunity? Ra. I am Ra. We have given you the information concerning that which aids this particular mind-body-spirit complex. We can speak no further. It is our opinion, which we humbly offer, that each is in remarkable harmony with each of this particular third density illusion at this space-time nexus. Questioner, I want to ask a few questions Jim had here about the healing exercises. The first is, in the healing exercise concerning the body, what do you mean by the disciples of the body having to do with the balance between love and wisdom in the use of the body in its natural functions? Ra, I am Ra. We shall speak more briefly than usual due to this instrument's use of the transferred energy. We therefore request further queries if our reply is not sufficient. The body complex has natural functions. Many of these have to do with the unmanifested self and are normally not subject to the need for balancing. There are natural functions which have to do with other self. Among these are touching, loving, the sexual life, and those times when the company of another is craved to combat the type of loneliness which is the natural function of the body, as opposed to those types of loneliness which are of the mind-emotion complex or of the spirit. When these natural functions may be observed in the daily life, they may be examined in order that the love of self and love of other self versus the wisdom regarding the use of natural functions may be observed. There are many fantasies and stray thoughts which may be examined in most of your peoples in this balancing process. Equally, to be balanced is the withdrawal from the need for these natural functions with regard to other self. On the one hand, there is an excess of love. It must be determined whether this is love of self or other self or both. On the other hand, there is an overbalance towards wisdom. It is well to know the body complex so that it is an ally, balanced and ready to be clearly used as a tool. For each bodily function may be used in higher and higher, if you will, complexes of energy with other self. No matter what the behavior, the important balancing is the understanding of each interaction on this level with other selves, so that whether the balance may be love-wisdom or wisdom-love, the other self is seen by the self in a balanced configuration, and the self is thus freed for further work. Questioner. Second question. Could you give me an example of how feelings affect portions of the body and the sensations of the body? Ra. I am Ra. It is nearly impossible to speak generally of these mechanisms, for each entity of proper seniority has its own programming. Of the less aware entities, we may say that the connection will often seem random as the higher self continues producing catalysts until a bias occurs. In each programmed individual, the sensitivities are far more active and, as we have said, that catalyst not used fully by the mind and spirit is given to the body. Thus, you may see in this entity the numbing of the arms and the hands, signifying this entity's failure to surrender to the loss of control over the life. Thus, this drama is enacted in the physical distortion complex. In the questioner, we may see the desire not to be carrying the load it carries, given as physical manifestation of the soreness of those muscles for carrying used. That which is truly needed to be carried is a pre-incarnative responsibility which seems highly inconvenient. In the case of the scribe, we see a wariness and a numbness of feelings ensuing from lack of using catalyst, designed to sensitize this entity to quite significant influxes of unfamiliar distortion complexes of the mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. As the numbness removes itself from the higher or more responsive complexes, the body complex distortions will vanish. This is true also of the other examples. We would note at this time that the totally efficient use of the catalyst upon your plane is extremely rare. Questioner, could you tell me how you are able to give us this information like this with respect to the first distortion of the law of confusion? Ra, I am Ra. Each of those is already aware of this information. Any other reader may extract the heart of the meaning from this discussion without interest as to the example's sources. If each was not fully aware of these answers, we could not speak. It is interesting that in many of your queries you ask for confirmation rather than information. This is acceptable to us. Questioner. This brings out the point of the purpose for the physical incarnation, I believe. And that is to reach a conviction through your own thought processes as to a solution to problems and understandings in a totally unbiased or totally free situation with no proof at all, or anything that you would consider proof, proof being a very poor word in and of itself. Can you expand on my concept? Ra. I am Ra. Your opinion is an eloquent one, although somewhat confused in its connections between the freedom expressed by subjective knowing and the freedom expressed by subjective acceptance. There is a significant distinction between the two. This is not a dimension of knowing, even subjectively, due to the lack of overview of cosmic and other inpourings which affect each and every situation which produces catalyst. The subjective acceptance of that which is at the moment and the finding of love within that moment is the greater freedom. That known as the subjective knowing without proof is, in some degree, a poor friend, for there will be anomalies no matter how much information is garnered due to the distortions which form the third density. Questioner. Okay, the third question I have here is, could you give examples of bodily polarity? Ra. I am Ra. Within the body there are many polarities which relate to the balancing of the energy centers of the various bodies of the unmanifested entity. It is well to explore these polarities for work and healing. Each entity is, of course, a potential polarized portion of an other self. Questioner. It says here, it would seem the proper balancing exercises for all the sensations of the body would be some form of inactivity such as meditation or contemplation. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is largely incorrect. The balancing requires a meditative state in order for the work to be done. However, the balancing of sensation has to do with an analysis of the sensation with a special respect to any unbalanced leaning between the love and the wisdom, or the positive and the negative. Then whatever is lacking in the balanced sensation is, as in all balancing, allowed to come into being after the sensation is remembered and recalled in such detail as to overwhelm the senses. Questioner. Could you tell me why it is important for the appurtenances and other things to be so carefully aligned with respect to the instrument, and why just a small ruffle in the sheet by the instrument causes a problem with reception of Ra? Ra. I am Ra. We may attempt an explanation. This contact is narrow band. The instrument is highly sensitive. Thus, we have good entry into it and can use it to an increasingly satisfactory level. However, the trance condition is, shall we say, not one which is without toll upon this instrument. Therefore, the area above the entrance into the physical complex of this instrument must be kept clear to avoid discomfort to the instrument, especially as it re-enters the body complex. The appurtenances give the instrument sensory input and mental visualization which aid in the trance beginning. The careful alignment of these is important for the energizing group in that it is a reminder to the support group that it is time for a working. The ritualistic behaviors are triggers for many energies of the support group. You may have noticed more energy being used in workings as the number has increased due to the long-term, shall we say, effect of such ritualistic actions. This would not aid another group, as it was designed for this particular system of mind-body-spirit complexes, and especially the instrument. There is enough energy transferred for one more long query. We do not wish to deplete this instrument. Questioner. Okay, then I will ask this one. Could you tell us the purpose of the frontal lobes of the brain and the conditions necessary for their activation? Ra. I am Ra. The frontal lobes of the brain will, shall we say, have much more use in fourth density. The primary mental emotive condition of this large area of the so-called brain is joy or love in its creative sense. Thus, the energies which we have discussed in relationship to the pyramids, all of the healing, the learning, the building, the energizing, are to be found in this area. This is the area tapped by the adept. This is the area which, working through the trunk and root of mind, makes contact with intelligent energy, and through this gateway, intelligent infinity. Are there any queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner. Only, is there anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument is somewhat distorted, but each is doing well. You are conscientious. We thank you for continuing to observe the alignments and request that on each level you continue to be this fastidious, as this will maintain the contact. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, my friends, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. Session 61, Law of One. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this here. We I guess just turn the camera back on, huh? And maybe stop sharing. We'll do that. There we go. Sorry, new platform. There are a couple points I have, then I got some questions, and we'll jump into 62. The three are what brings in Ra. So what's important in this little point I made here is Carla, Jim, and the other one, I always forget his name. They are this group of energy, and no one of those energy points is more important than the other. They all have to work in unison. It's kind of what's happening today. We all have to do our part. We all have to work in unison. We all have to own the little piece that we do. And then with everybody else, our little cog, our little wheel, our little thing that we do, our little spinning around and around, whatever it is for you, that is how we're making a difference as an individual. So each one of us kind of has that. So I thought it was kind of important to point that out, because that's really what was going on in this particular group. Self to other self interactions. There's a huge importance. The catalyst that exists between us and other us's, or self and other self, is critical. Now, it doesn't mean that everything other people do is like you've got to accept it and deal with it and always like, okay, it's all right. No, sometimes people do stuff and they're not people that should be in our circles. Like, there is kind of more to that, right? Like you've got to take the catalyst that is offered to you. You address it, you think about it, you try not to react as much as sort of take in, all right, what is this telling me? What am I doing? What am I learning? What is my growth here? And then from that learning, your actual outer world will change. It's a fun little thing that a lot of people just don't play around with, but really your outer world follows your inner world. And as they always say, as within, so without, really has to do with your inner world is what precedes the outer world. And that's really the point of this playground, is to learn how to get our inner worlds to work properly and to stop wishing evil and hate and all sorts of horrible things on other people. That's really a bad thing. Catalysts move or inspire us. The better we use that, the quicker we move. So any of you guys that are like, how can I do this faster? It's all about taking the catalyst that's offered to you on a daily basis and learning as much as you can from each and every day. Each moment that happens every day is your lesson, is your outpouring to you. And it's because, again, of what you did earlier. So when we pay attention, when we notice, when we learn from, we'll find that we are able to ingest the catalyst and evolve from it quicker, create the calluses, if you will, on ourselves. So that's kind of maybe not the best way to look at it, but kind of similar. Proof, knowing, acceptance. So proof is a funny thing. And there's a lot of us that they want proof. They want to know what's going on. Yeah, 3i Atlas is a good example. What is it exactly? There's so many people that want to know what's going to happen in the future. Everybody wants to know for sure. You could tell somebody something. That's the knowing concept. You could read about things. That's the knowing concept. I know this is supposed to happen because I have read X, Y, and Z, or so-and-so said such and such. And so thusly, I know that's going to happen. But acceptance is a different thing. When you're working through reality, when you're working through your own particular reality, you will actually find that you will have many doubts. You'll see some moments where it'll prove it to you, and you'll know for sure that, oh my God, this does work. What I think, what I say, what I do, it plays out. But what you'll notice is you'll doubt it. You'll question it. And that is a big part of this whole thing. Law of confusion versus knowing. Someone could tell you something. Someone could show you something. I mean, they could damn near come in and float off the ground and be like, this is how you levitate. But you won't necessarily believe it. You won't necessarily accept it. So that is the key when it comes to, people talk about disclosure, for example. First off, just from the UFO standpoint or whatever, UAP or whatever they're calling them now. Right, the idea that they're going to disclose this all at once is a slow disclosure. We're talking about it over time. Same thing happens with the rest of this, with the craziness that's going on in our own societies. It is the exact same thing. It's being disclosed. Now, maybe it's not the thing you want disclosed or the speed at which you want it disclosed, but it is happening. So these things are occurring. We got like a mouse that just walked in the house. I hear it downstairs. Anyway, we've got also the last talk they had frontal lobes, and they were talking about the concept of love and joy and fourth density. And so this frontal part of our brains that is being activated, frankly, is something you might experience. Love and joy, kind of might feel it from the front of your head sometimes, but all said, kind of cool stuff. We've got a couple questions. Let's see here. Newman, 29. Newman. They talk about psychic attacks. What about physical ones? Well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure where you're kind of going with the question. Certainly physical attacks can occur. Usually when you reach a point where you've put out energy that would attract physical attack on oneself. And again, sometimes it's a catalyst. Sometimes it's you literally just begged for this. But it will create that kind of thing. So there is that side of it. I think your question is more in reference, can the beings that are capable of psychic attack, are they capable of physical attack? And I will say no, is the answer. They're not. I have a fun little experience I have on a regular basis, and it even traveled with me when I moved. Physically, no. There was actually one time where it hit its hand or whatever, something close to my pillow, and I could hear it, but it didn't move the pillow. Like, it wasn't affecting physical, and it only happens when I'm in between sleep and awake. It's really weird. I can literally wake up and then it goes away. And I've tried a lot of in the power of Jesus and all that stuff. It is just a thing that is from time to time is there to try to torment. That's what it does. Can it physically harm me? No. And I know that. And so when I know that and I kind of put that back on it, it gets a little more pissy and it makes more noise. It gets a little louder, but it can't do anything. So no. They can cause you to do weird things. They can cause you to physically stumble and fall. They can cause you to trip. They can cause you to not pay attention. They can cause you to look at something else while you should be paying attention to another thing. They can cause stuff like that, which can harm you physically, but they can't physically harm you. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes a little sense. Let's see. Got another question from Rewalt77. What is it called when a person knows something? Knowledgeable. I know you probably mean it in some way. If they know something, there's psychics or prophets. I don't know. There's a lot of different names. A lot of different people have different names for it too. So whatever is your comfort level, whatever you feel is the proper word name. I mean, some people seem to know things before they happen. And yeah, there's a little taste of that going on. Maggie asks question, do you feel that we are close to finally seeing the hidden truths? Hidden truths, Maggie, is I think something that is significantly larger than what your actual question is. But yes, is my answer for sure. We are very close to finally seeing these hidden truths. I would say there's levels of the hidden truths, and we'll continue to see these levels exposed. This is part of what I would call disclosure, these hidden truths. There's, again, many levels, many areas. And yes, this is all happening. This is part of the awakening process, and this is certainly part of where we're all at. So we're moving forward through it, together, and it is difficult from time to time, but yeah, we're We're doing this. All right, session 62. That was the last question. So we're going to move session 62. In here, we've got like dangerous place. What's that? What's our going with that? Limitations, frailties, attack. Yeah, I'm not 100% where I was going with that. Dangerous place, limitations, frailties, attack. We can certainly be harmed here, but it's by our choosing. So again, I'm not quite sure even where I was going with that when I created this. Overlay of reality too, and chakras. They kind of talk about that too. Anyway, I'll make some notes and we'll see. This is kind of what I put down when I was first going through it. We'll see what exactly happens. But all said, we got a lot of fun going on. This is again session 62. It's on the Fringe. Session 62, recorded July 13th, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Before we begin, may we request that a circle be walked about this instrument, and let then each of the supporting group expel breath forcibly, approximately 2½ feet above the instrument's head. The circle then again being walked about the instrument. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We appreciate your kind cooperation. Please recheck the alignment of perpendicularity, and we will begin. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We communicate now. Questioner, could you tell me what was wrong or what caused the necessity for the rewalking of the circle and the purpose of the expelling of breath? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument was under specific psychic attack at this time of the beginning of the working. There was a slight irregularity in the words verbalized by your sound complex vibratory mechanism in the protective walking of the circle. Into this opening came this entity and began to work upon the instrument now in trance state, as you would call it. This instrument was being quite adversely affected in a physical complex distortion. Thus, the circle was properly walked. The breath of righteousness expelled the thought form, and the circle again walked. Questioner, what was the nature of the thought form or its affiliation? Ra. I am Ra. This thought form was of the Orion affiliation. Questioner, was the attack successful in creating any further distortion of the instrument's physical complex? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner, what is the nature of this distortion? Ra. This thought form sought to put an end to this instrument's incarnation by working with the renal distortion which, although corrected upon time-space, are vulnerable to one which knows the way to separate time-space molding and space-time distortions, which are being unmolded, vulnerable as before the, shall we say, healing. Questioner, what detrimental effects has been done? Ra. I am Ra. There will be some discomfort. However, we were fortunate in that this instrument was very open to us and well tuned. Had we not been able to reach this instrument and instruct you, the instrument's physical vehicle would soon be unviable. Questioner, will there be any lasting effect from this attack as far as the instrument's physical vehicle is concerned? Ra. I am Ra. This is difficult to say. We are of the opinion that no lasting harm or distortion will occur. The healer was strong, and the bonds taking effect in the remolding of these renal distortions were effective. It is at this point a question of two forms of the leavings of what you would call a spell or a magic working. The healer's distortions versus the attempt at Orion distortions. The healer's distortions full of love, the Orion's distortions also pure in separation. It seems that all is well, except for some possible discomfort which shall be attended if persistent. Questioner, was the opening that was made in the protective circle planned to be made by the Orion entity? Was it a specific planned attempt to make an opening, or was this something that just happened by accident? Ra. I am Ra. This entity was, as your people put it, looking for a target of opportunity. The missed word was a chance occurrence and not a planned one. We might suggest in the, shall we say, future as you measure space-time, as you begin a working, be aware that this instrument is likely being watched for any opportunity. Thus, If the circle is walked with some imperfection, it is well to immediately repeat. The expelling of breath is also appropriate, always to the left. Questioner: would you expand on what you just said about the expelling of breath? I wasn't quite sure what you meant. Ra: I am Ra. The repetition of that performed well at this working is advisable if the circle is walked in less than the appropriate configuration. Questioner: but you mentioned the expelling of the breath to the left, I believe. Would you tell me what you meant by that? Ra: I am Ra. It is as you have just accomplished, the breath being sent above the instrument's head from its right side to its left. Questioner: is there anything we can do for the instrument after she comes out of trance to help her recover from this attack? Ra: I am Ra. There is little to be done. You may watch to see if distortions persist and see that the appropriate healers are brought into contact with this mind-body-spirit complex in the event that difficulty persists. It may not. This battle is even now being accomplished. Each may counsel the instrument to continue its work as previously outlined. Questioner: who would the appropriate healer be, and how would we bring them in contact with the instrument? Ra: I am Ra. There are 4. The difficulty being at all noticed as bodily distortions, the one known as Dawn, and the one known as Jim, may work upon the instrument's bodily complex by means of the practices which are developed in each entity. Given persistence of distortion, the one known as Stewart shall be seen. Given the continued difficulty past the point of one of your cycles called the fortnight, the one known as Douglas shall be seen. Questioner: does the instrument know who these people are, Stewart and Douglas? I don't know who they are. Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: is that the sum total of what we can do to aid the instrument? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. We may note that the harmonies and loving social intercourse which prevails habitually in this group create a favorable environment for each of you to do your work. Questioner: what priority, shall I say, does the Orion group place upon the reduction of effectiveness or elimination of effectiveness of this group with respect to activities on planet Earth at this time? Can you tell me that? Ra: I am Ra. This group, as all positive channels and supportive groups, is a greatly high priority with the Orion group. This instrument's bodily distortions are its most easily unbound or unloosed distortions, dissolving the mind-body-spirit complex if the Orion group is successful. This particular group having learned to be without serious chinks, may we say, in mind and spirit complex vibratory patterns. In other channels, other chinks may be more in evidenced. Questioner: I'll make this statement and you can correct me. The Orion group has as an objective the bringing of service to self-polarized entities to harvest, as great a harvest as possible. This harvest will build their potential or their ability to do work in consciousness as given by the distortion of the Law of One, called the Law of Squares or doubling. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: are there other groups of those who are in the service to self path joined with those from the Orion constellation? For instance, those of the Southern Cross. Are they presently working for the same type of harvest with respect to the Earth? Ra: I am Ra. These you mention of the Southern Cross are members of the Orion group. It is not, shall we say, according to understood wording, that a group from various galaxies should be named by one. However, those planetary social memory complexes of the so-called Orion constellations have the upper hand, and thus rule the other members. You must recall that in the negative thinking there is always the pecking order, shall we say, and the power against power in separation. Questioner: by creating as large a harvest as possible of negatively oriented entities from Earth, then the social memory complex of the Orion group gains in strength. Am I correct in assuming this strength then is in the total strength of the complex, the pecking order remaining approximately the same, and those at the top gaining in strength with respect to the total strength of the social memory complex? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. To the stronger go the greater shares of the polarity. Questioner. Then what do the ones at the top of the pecking order of the Orion group? Well, let me first ask this. Are we talking about the fourth density group now? Ra. I am Ra. There are fourth and a few fifth density members of the Orion group. Questioner. Then is the top of the pecking order fifth density? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. What is the objective? What does the, shall we say, the leader, the one at the very top of the pecking order in the fifth density, Orion, have as an objective? I would like to understand his philosophy with respect to his objectives and plans for what we might call the future or his future. Ra. I am Ra. This thinking will not be so strange to you. Therefore, we may speak through the densities as your planet has some negatively oriented action and sway at this space-time nexus. The early fifth density negative entity, if oriented towards maintaining cohesion as a social memory complex, may in its free will determine that the path to wisdom lies in the manipulation in exquisite property of all other selves. It then, by virtue of its abilities and wisdom, is able to be the leader of fourth density beings, which are upon the road to wisdom by exploring the dimensions of love of self and understanding of self. These fifth density entities see the creation as that which shall we put in order. Dealing with a plane such as this third density at this harvesting, it will see the mechanism of call more clearly and have much less distortion towards plunder or manipulation by thoughts which are given to negatively oriented entities, although in allowing this to occur and sending less wise entities to do this work, any successes redound to the leaders. The fifth density sees the difficulties posed by the light, and in this way directs entities of this vibration to the seeking of targets of opportunities such as this one. If fourth density temptations, shall we say, towards distortions of ego, etc., are not successful, the fifth density entity then thinks in terms of the removal of light. Questioner. When the Orion entity, who waits us seeking the opportunity to attack, is with us here, can you describe his method of coming here? What he looks like and how he waits? I know that this isn't too important, but it might give us a little insight into what we are talking about. Ra. I am Ra. Fifth density entities are very light beings, although they do have the type of physical vehicle which you understand. Fifth density entities are very fair to look upon in your standard of beauty. The thought is what is sent, for the fifth density entity is likely to have mastered this technique or discipline. There is little or no means of perceiving such an entity, for unlike fourth density negative entities, the fifth density entity walks with light feet. This instrument was aware of extreme coldness in the past diurnal cycle and spent much more time than your normal attitudes would imagine to be appropriate in what seemed to each of you to an extremely warm climate. This was not perceived by the instrument, but the drop in subjective temperature is a sign of presence of a negative or non-positive or draining entity. This instrument did mention a feeling of discomfort, but was nourished by this group and was able to dismiss it. Had it not been for a random mishap, all would have been well, for you have learned to live in love and light, and do not neglect to remember the one infinite Creator. Then it was a fifth density entity that made this particular attack on the instrument today. Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Is this unusual that the fifth density then would bother to do this rather than sending a fourth density servant, shall I say? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Nearly all positive channels and groups may be lessened in their positivity or rendered quite useless by what we may call the temptations offered by the fourth density negative thought forms. They may suggest many distortions towards specific information, towards the aggrandizement of the self, toward the flowering of the organization in some political, social, or fiscal way. These distortions remove the focus from the one infinite source of love and light, of which we are all messengers, humble and knowing that we all, of ourselves, are but the tiniest portion of the Creator, a small part of a magnificent entirety of infinite intelligence. Questioner, is there something that the instrument could do or we could do for the instrument to eliminate the problem she continually experiences of the cold feeling of these attacks? Ra, I am Ra. Yes. Questioner, would you tell us what we could do? Ra, I am Ra. You could cease in your attempts to be channels for the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Questioner, have I missed anything now that we can do to aid the instrument during, before, or after the session, or at any time? Ra, I am Ra. The love and devotion of this group misses nothing. Be at peace. There is some toll for this work. This instrument embraces this, or we could not speak. Rest, then, in that peace and love. Do as you will, as you wish, as you feel. Let there be an end to worry when this is accomplished. The great healer of distortions is love. Questioner, I have a question that I couldn't properly answer last night. It was asked by Morris. It has to do with the vibrations of the densities. I understand that first density is composed of core atomic vibrations that are in the red spectrum, second in the orange, etc. Am I to understand that the core vibrations of our planet are still in the red and that second density beings are still in the orange at this time space or space time right now, and that each density as it exists on our planet at this time has a different core vibration? Or is this incorrect? Ra, I am Ra. This is precisely correct. Questioner, then as the fourth density vibrations come in, this means that the planet can support entities of fourth density core vibration. Will the planet then still be first density core vibration, and will there be second density entities on it with second density vibrations, and will there be third density entities with third density vibrations? Ra, I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. There is energy, but the distortions of the instruments suggest to us it would be well to shorten this working with your permission. Questioner, yes. Ra, you must see the earth, as you call it, as being 7 earths. There is red, orange, yellow, and there will soon be completed green color vibratory locus for fourth density entities which they call earth. During the fourth density experience, due to the lack of development of fourth density entities, the third density planetary sphere is not useful for habitation, since the early fourth density entity will not know precisely how to maintain the illusion that fourth density cannot be seen or determined from any instrumentation available to the third density. Thus, in fourth density, the red, orange, and green energy nexi of your planet will be activated, while the yellow is in potentiation, along with the blue and the indigo. May we ask at this time if there be any brief queries? Questioner, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact? Ra, all is well. You have been most conscientious. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the glory of the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Glad everyone's back still with us. And yeah, we've got, again, a lot to talk about on here. Got some to unpack. And Robness got a great question. He says, okay, excuse punctuation. I feel alone, but not alone. Question would be, am I alone? Does anyone else see life distorted and feel like something has come literally feel humanity? I've been here since 01. Alone, I think, is the thing. Like a lot of us, I used to, when I was like really like teaching physically, you know, I was working at coffee shop and I'd bump into the public. Like you're able to kind of feel and address people. I would find anyways, others that were similar thinking and similar minded. So I'd realize I'm like, man, I'm not alone. Feels like it sometimes, but there are many of us, believe it or not, that are out here. Now, because of where we're at in the big picture, we are definitely spread apart because our energy needs to be spread apart because we're covering large areas. So it might feel like you're alone, but you've got a great little group of people here that I hope are making you feel less alone, if I may say so, Mr. Rob Ness. You definitely have a likeness to Rob, by the way. All right, so we got a few things I want to bring up on this 62. The magic failed. So they were doing magic. This is what it was. Ritual magic. It's what it was. Right, wrong, and different doesn't matter. They failed to do the magic properly. Now, why did that matter? Here's the reason that mattered. If you believe you've got to do X, Y, then Z to make sure your armor of God's on or whatever, right? Then if you do X, Y, or Z incorrectly, you fail. You allow that to be something that's easy to get through. Now, and then he would say, well, Dan, what do you do? I just put on my armor of God. I know it's on. I don't question it. I don't have rules for it. I don't go through this process. I just it's on. Turn it on. Wow. It's on. There's no reason to. Now, do I keep it on? Yeah. I don't take it off. Shower. It's not going to rust. Armor of God's good stuff. Just as an example. So their magic failed because they made a mistake. If they wouldn't have made a mistake and they would have held up their beliefs, they would have been okay. They weren't. The Orion group can try to harm Jim and Dawn. Those are the two names, by the way. I had to write them down. But they can try to harm. They can try to harm any of us. And as they say later in the process, how do you avoid that? How do you keep that from happening? You just stop trying to help. Now, for many of you out there, I hope you're like, but really? Is that the answer? Yeah. Yeah. That's the answer. Don't be afraid of the little noises you're going to hear in the middle of the night, maybe. Don't be afraid of something that might hit your pillow. It can't hurt you. Send love to it if you can. But we are in a battle of good versus evil. Make no mistake about that. Don't pretend that, I'm just, I'm going to be kind of involved. No, you're involved or you're not involved. But if you get involved, you're going to experience some stuff. Be ready for that. And if you don't want to experience some stuff, don't get involved. That's what it comes down to. You can protect yourself, armor of God. It can't hurt you. It can just try to scare you. And it will. It's all right, though. It's part of the process. Have faith. That's the big part. A lot of people out there talk a lot of talk. This is how you walk out into the landmine field. This is how you walk into the minefield, right? And how you get away with it. A lot of channels that are out right now have filters. Everybody does. Everybody has filters. So anybody that's channeling has filters. If you can kind of get a taste or feel for how a specific channel is or what their personality type is or whatever, you can kind of get a feeling for where they're going to bias, if you will. The trick is to remove as many preconceived beliefs as possible. If you do that, then your channeling will be significantly more correct or more accurate. That's just what it comes down to. If you've got beliefs, then it's got to filter through the belief. You got like a channel, you got your higher chakra, and then your beliefs like a crystal or a spectrum or something. It's got to go through that as well. And if it's not clear and clean, you're gonna have a hard time channeling, or the channel itself that you're listening to is gonna have a hard time. Thank you, Robness. I appreciate you, brother. $20 is awesome, and the $10, by the way, dude's rock star. Appreciate you. Any of us content creators out there right now, any of the ones you watch, are being attacked. All of us. Some of us know it. Some of us are aware. Some of us maybe even have protections to help ourselves, or at least an awareness to be able to handle it. Some don't. One of the key things, and this is law of confusion moment, so I'm just going to give you a small little piece of advice. One of the key things to pay attention to is the ego. How involved is the ego? Are they constantly talking about themselves? Are they constantly talking about their skills, their abilities, their uniqueness? Even if they say their uniqueness and then try to play it down like, wow, but I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm different than anyone else. You can be like this too. It's that constant reminder that you've got a uniqueness about you. That is an ego thing. And I don't expect everyone to recognize it necessarily. Many of you will, many of you won't. But the ego is key. If the ego becomes a powerful part of your life that helps control you, if you're interested in being unique, or if you're interested in being rich or different or more powerful or any of those types of things, you're heading down that path. And again, it's just one of those things that you've got to get aware of, or else you'll go down the wrong path. There's a lot of people that feel like they've got a uniqueness, and that is unfortunately your ego out of control. Every one of us is the same. We're all creators. You're the creator of your own world. I'm the creator of my own world. You're no different than me, and I am certainly no different than you, and I am no better than you. That's for sure. They talk about the cold temperature. It's funny. It reminded me of when I came back from California after Tennessee, dating a woman, just mainly to get out of the house, frankly, I think. But I'll never forget the first night I spent the night there, and we were sitting on the couch, and I literally just got cold. Like, I was like, oh my God. I literally started shaking, like shivering. I'm like, why am I so cold? And I'll never forget it. She looked at me and she goes, you know why? And I was like, ah. And again, that was a relationship that did not work out well. Broke up like 7 times. That's one of those moments in time, but whatever. It was, I'll never forget that. Never. Can you avoid attack? Yeah, only if you're not in the fight. If you want to avoid attack, if you want to stay safe, don't get involved in the fight. If you want to get involved in the fight, understand you will be attacked. That's it. That's period. I hope you guys know that, because this is what we're all heading into, or what many of us are in different levels of already. So please keep those things in mind, because it will make a difference, and it will likely save your life. All right, we've got some great questions, it seems, and then we'll I'll share the link when I close out, and we'll hang out for 20 minutes or so. I don't want to. This week has been a push for me, guys. Just like I said, psychic attack's been a trip this week, and I've learned some lessons and made a difference. So we're good. But I've had to do some different movements, if you will. Pet 1985 question. It seems like the closer they get to the truth and the more info they get, the attacks get worse. Could that be why I have been having psychic attacks on self and me noticing them? Yeah, it could be, for sure. Is that, I don't know for sure if that's exactly what you're experiencing, but yeah, very, very likely. Pat, I know you're an upper level member, if you will. I don't mean in like subscribing or anything crazy like that, but I know you've read Law of One many times. Yeah, that is what you'll notice. You will notice some of the crazy thoughts in your head, and if you're paying attention, you'll be like, that's not me. It happened to me earlier today. I'm like, that I caught him right in the middle of the sentence, right in the middle of the statement. And I'm like, and what? And I'm uniquely good. And they're like, they just quiet instantly. Like they dropped the mic and walked away. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you guys. Maggie, question. Do you think we can or will have psychic abilities? You have psychic abilities already, Maggie. I knew you were going to ask that question. I'm just kidding. But you have psychic abilities already. Every single physical touch, taste, smell, right? All those things, like your 5 senses. Every one of those has a hyperdimensional version or a 6th density version or whatever. It's got a higher density version. So yes, definitely here's how to play out. Here's a better way to answer your question. As you specifically, because Maggie, I know a little past, we've talked about this in the past. You've got a connection to Egypt. You're definitely part of this bigger picture. You're here for a past life. You've been here before. As you kind of come to more and more terms with that, your psychic abilities will start to turn on. And that's one of the ways that you'll almost know, you personally anyway, it's not everybody, it's different for all of us, but for many of us, it's one of the ways you'll know that you're waking up, or a significant bump happened, because all of a sudden you'll start picking up all these weird vibes that you weren't before, or you'll be aware of things and you're like, how am I aware of this happening before it happens? So you will experience that for sure, unquestionably. Rowalt 77 question. Sometimes I know a questions someone wants to ask before they ask, and my brain blurts out the answer before the question is fully asked. How can I be more patient when this happens? This is, I do this too. A lot of this is because it's about saving time in our minds. And some of us have to remember that the moment is really what matters, and there is no time to save. So if you're having an experience with an individual and they're taking a day and a half to get to the point, understand that you've got a day and a half if that's necessary but you're in this moment. You're having this discussion for a reason. And so giving it your all, appreciating the now of the moment is always key. And if you can do that in every moment of every day, and that's the key, when you're in the now, when you're in the moment, you'll notice all sorts of extra things that you don't normally notice. And that will affect your life because you'll have these things to ponder on later. And you'll be like, wow, that was kind of weird. It will change your life. So yeah, without a doubt, you can definitely, you can know that things are happening beforehand, and you can definitely kind of be more patient in the moment when you are trying to be with somebody or trying to use some of your empathic skills, if you will, trying to understand and appreciate somebody. You'll find, and there are times where they don't speak quick enough. This happens to me a lot. Like I know what you're going to say. I'll finish your sentence for you, but that's not cool. It's not cool at all. So yeah, we got to work on that. Robness. Yeah, I think I answered your question. So the excuse punctual now. Anyway, yeah, thank you, Robness. You're awesome. September question. How does my understanding this help the big picture? Well, September might not help you at all. You tell me. You get back to me next week and you let me know how your understanding of this helps the big picture. I'm certainly not going to put that thought in your mind. It sounds like you need to figure that out on your own. Now, again, I know you're not coming at me from a weird angle, but I mean that in a very, very legitimate sense. You let me know when you figure it out, because otherwise, maybe this isn't for you. This isn't for everyone. I appreciate you asking the question. It's a great question. It's actually a great question. So for any of you guys that are looking for, how can I fulfill something further in you got to figure this out. I'm just offering information. You're here right now because you're learning something. You got attracted to something, either because I'm crazy and you seem to enjoy that, or because this is something that's attracting you. What you choose to do with that catalyst is your choice, not mine. I'm doing this from a teach, learn, teach. And it is part of my experience. And I go through a great deal to make this happen for you. So I understand it from my experience. And I wish you to have a similar example. Exactly. All said, fantastic. We're going to close out. I'm going to put the outro on. It's like 2 minutes long or whatever. Then I'll drop in the chat, the link to the StreamYard. If you guys want to join, cool. We'll kick it for about 20 minutes or so. All said, I love you guys, and we are definitely going to keep doing this. We're making a difference in the world, and I'm not about to stop now, I should say. Where we go one, we go all. That's always been the case, but this is the Law of One, and it is certainly on the Fringe. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.